Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the situation report, or the summary for the day of 1007 to 1008 for the 26th to the 27th of November. December is coming, so just to remind you again, New Year resolution, have you done it? You have 1 month left. And for those that are like me, resolution is to slim down is hopeless now. 1 month is too short. So let's start off with the situation report. So we go from the south and we'll go anti-clockwise. And the Ukrainians have launched a massive combined drone and missile strike against Sevastopol and some of the targets on the Crimean Peninsula. So allegedly, according to the Russian reports, 26 drones was launched, and they are targeting the air bases in Belbek, Kacha, Novofedorivka. So I think Novofedorivka is here. It's not important. It's not important. Because none of the drones actually hit their targets. And so wait, I need to turn off something. Yeah, turn off the Discord. So basically, the drones got intercepted in the over the Black Sea, and so the air defense shot down all these drones. And there's also missile strikes. So the 2 Neptune anti-ship missiles was launched against Sevastopol, and the drones, I think the missiles was also intercepted. And then there's a UAV that was overlooking all these things. I think this is like the cameraman, the camera UAV that is supposed to record the success. And they successfully failed. So they recorded nothing, so they ran off. So and then there's also 4 reconnaissance aircraft that was operating on the Black Sea at once before that, the day before. So they were probably doing intel and target acquisition for the Ukrainians. So that's what happened in the Black Sea. And the Russians sent a FPV drone hitting air defense system at Kharkiv. So there was a strike there. So interesting because it's pretty near. FPV drones can potentially fly over the gaping hole called the Dnipro River or the Dniprovska Gulf. Basically, and we move on. Over at the Kherson front, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry continued to report about fighting at the Pre-Dniprovsky direction over the past 2 days. And again, we do not know where exactly the fighting is. So just assume it's going to be here. Wrong color in here. And shelling is reported over at Mikhailske, Okhivka, as well as this place called Molodizhne. Molodizhne. Yeah. So this Molodizhne, is the first time we have seen shelling at that position. Over at the Zaporizhia front, we have nothing. Surprisingly, no fighting, not even at Malatomachka. Surprisingly quiet, very suspicious. So we move into the Donetsk front at the Velika Novosilka sector. Russian forces attack at Novodarivka, Rivnopil, Blahodatne, also known as Otyburske, as well as Velika Novosilka coming from the east. There is some expansion of the front line for the Russians around Rivnopil successfully, and of course this have its own tactical implications. So if you zoom in, not just this is, of course, this salient is like it's just waiting to be it's just asking to be closed up. So not just this, of course, this will allow the Russians to attack Novodarivka in 2 different directions, making the conquest of Novodarivka much easier. But also over at Makarivka, the Ukrainians are still holding position at Makarivka and of course at Storozheve. With the Russians expanding the control in this sector, they can potentially attack this way towards Storozheve and ignore Makarivka, and this would just force the Ukrainians to withdraw from Makarivka. So this is the implication for this expansion of the front line. So let's wait. The Ukrainians are holding the line generally pretty well. So that's all. Russians, of course, fighting towards Blahodatne. And no new updates regarding the Velika Novosilka sector. So that's all we know. However, there is a geolocation of a drone hitting Ukrainian forces in a building. So that's not nothing particularly special. Just shows that the Ukrainians are indeed there. And so sorry for just now make you confused about your Discord. Now I make you confused about your WhatsApp. So the shelling is reported at Kolmar. And at Rozdone, the Russian forces are on the verge of full capture of Rozdone, according to the mapping from the Ukrainian side. So we are just left with a little bit of Rozdone, and the Russians will potentially cut off the main road by just being present nearby. So this will, of course, have logistical implications for the Ukrainians. So definitely, it's going to be pretty stressful for the Ukrainians in this sector in the near future. We move into the Uspenivka sector. Over on the western flank, Russian forces are fighting in the direction of Rozliv towards Constantinople, over here, Constantinople, and they're fighting towards Sukiali, Konstantinopolsky, and there is also report of fighting towards Yantarne as well as Trudove. So the Russians are basically fighting across the entire front line in a massive arrow direction upwards. They are going up the S. So over at the eastern part of the Uspenivka front, the Russian forces are fighting from Dalny, moving southward as well. Khanivka, Romanivka, Ilinka, Antonivka, Katerinivka, Yelizavetivka, Zeleny High, of course, Trudove as mentioned, Konstantinopolsky as mentioned, and the Yantarne is actually coming from Dane, so it's actually heading in that direction. So this front line is collapsing. Based on the Russian mapping, they have claimed that Yelizavetivka has fallen and the entire forest plantation has been taken in the southwest of Yelizavetivka, or actually western part of Yelizavetivka. And given this change of the front line, if this is true, then the Ukrainian forces at Ilinka is unlikely to be able to hold position as well, which means that Ilinka most likely has already fallen. It's unknown why Katerinivka and Antonivka continue to be mentioned by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, despite that the fighting seems to be already way past these two locations. Maybe they are just trying to obscure the reality on the ground. So whatever it is what it is. Yeah, the Uspenivka salient has lost most of it, like more than half. Like it was very, very big. Now it's like left with one quarter or 1/3 of it. So we are going to see fighting at Uspenivka in, I think, maybe in 1 week, 2 weeks. There's a possibility because of the speed of the frontline change in this sector. Over at the Kurakove sector, around Kurakove itself, yeah, I think I have to zoom out like this. Russian forces announced, Russian sources claim Berezky has been captured. Russian forces are still fighting generally in the Berezky region. They are attacking in the northern part of Kurakove. There are some claims of capture over there. And in the north of Dane, where the heavy entrenchments are, the Russian forces have basically taken a lot of this entrenchment, fully securing Dane. So this will allow the Russians to continue to push west along the fortifications, or they can actually potentially just cut into the western flank of the Kurakove defense, collapsing the city's defense. That's also possible. So anyway, we will continue to monitor, and there's so much possibilities. And of course, the fighting reported towards Yantarne do show that the Russians are more intending possibly to extend and create more salience for pincer movements. Moving up north, in the northern half of the Kurakove sector, as mentioned, Berezky already mentioned, Russian forces have captured Novoselidivka with the latest frontline changes. There is some geolocation that seems to be belated, so tentatively I'm going to assume that these are all late videos for now, because it doesn't match with the reporting from both sides. Both Russian and Ukrainian defense sources, have already talked about the front line moving away. So my judgment is that these videos are belated. And there is also expansion of control around Voznesenka, largely centering around the railway line over here. So that's the and of course fighting at Sonsivka. So this is a situation over at the Kurakove sector. Moving up to the Selidove region. South of the Selidove region in the Pokrov front, Russian forces are fighting at Novodimitrivka, Zoria. And then they have expanded control in the southeast of Puskine, although the Ukrainians seems to have retaken a bit of grounds but this could also be potentially a belated video. So on the western part of Novo-Oleksievka. So that's all from this sector. Not particularly very important at this moment tactically. Over at the Selidove sector, we have fighting reported. Let me zoom in. Yeah, over this sector, Russian forces are fighting at Zhovde, Pustinka, Petrivka, and for Petrivka, the Russian forces have captured it. For Zhovde, the Russian forces have expanded control, capturing the entire lake around there, expanding control on the eastern part of Zhovde along the railway line, and Pustinka has been captured, half captured. So situation is looking really bad over here. So no, yeah, it's gonna be a pretty hard fight for the Ukrainians at this moment. We move on over at the Pokrov front. No, Pokrov sector of the Pokrov front. Fighting is reported towards Virozhenia, Dachanske, Lysivka, Milokrad, Promin, Hrodivka, Krasnia, as well as Mariolubivka. So tentatively, as I still don't think the Russians are actively really pushing in this sector, maybe with the exception of Krasnia, Virozhenia, as well as Dachansky. Even at Lysivka, the Russians seems to be just happy to hold the front line. I don't think they are pushing, so no, that's what I think is happening. The front line is not going to change. It's going to be very similar as the situation in the northern front of the Pokrov front. No, nothing changes over there. Over at the New York front, shelling is reported over at Stara Mykolaiivka. And the fighting generally is still in the Toretsk region. Fighting is reported at Nelipivka. Deep State UA continue to assert that the front line is at Nelipivka. However, everyone else is talking about Skibinivka. Fighting is reported at Zabalka, Toretsk, Dashne, as well as Dilievka. So that's the strategic situation over in the Toretsk region of the New York front. We move on to the Bakhmut front. At the Bakhmut front, we have some fighting across the entire front line at Krychorivka, Chasivya, Stupochki, Peteshne, Bilokhora, and Dilievka. So it looks a lot of arrows, but tentatively, I don't think these are active offensive. I don't think this is like assault to capture ground, conquer grounds. I don't think so. I think still it's just to engage the Ukrainians and keep them busy. I think that's what it is. I don't think these are active offensive. Then we have no frontline change. We have no updates over at the Sivas front. We move into the Crimea front. At the Crimea front, the fighting is reported in the Serbiansky Forestry, Torske, Terny, as well as Ivanivka. Ukrainian forces has been geolocated, invalidating some of the Russian claims, and the Russians were geolocated and reported to be attacking in this direction. With there's some video footage showing the attacks and whatnot. So, but that's all from the Crimea front. The front line don't really change much. The only changes generally comes is around Terny. These are the real changes that we usually see, but it's super slow. So over at the Svetove front, Russian forces are fighting at Novoyehorivka, Chernishkina, Kharkivka, as well as Makievka. Nothing special about all these things. Over at the Borova front, there is fighting reported over at Lozova. Novoplatonivka probably is just shelling. They're fighting at Zeleny High and Drievka. So, and this is already mentioned just now, Novoyehorivka and Chernishkina. And then we move further up north to the Pischane front. Fighting is reported. Lozova is mentioned. Zarizove, Kurelakivka, Senkove, Koleniskivka. Senkove is probably just shelling. I don't think these are active attacks. I mean, it's across the river. Going across the river would be very massive, especially for Senkove. So I don't think it is the case. Russian forces expanded control in the forest south of Kryakivka. This means that the front line with Zarizove is now straightened. So let's see how this continue to play out. At the Kupiansk front, fighting is reported over in Kupiansk, Sinkivka, as well as Zagorokivka. So we haven't seen fighting at Zagorukivka since July. So this is it was a surprise to me. Like when I saw the name, I was like, this name is so familiar, but I do not know where is it. So it took me a bit of time to find it. So that's all from the Kupians. There's also further up north over the Voreshna region at the Kupiansk front. The Russian forces continue to fight at Novolimsk and expanding their control in this sector, including just opposite shore of Voreshne. So that's all from the Voreshna region. And we move on to the Kharkiv front. At the Kharkiv front, we have the only fighting reported at Voschansk, Taike, as well as Kozacha Lopan. Kozacha Lopan continues to be the one I will be watching because this is new, and the continued reports of fighting in this region for the past 3 days is definitely concerning. So if this wonder if this will become another active front line, but because it's looking like it's going to become one. So and then we move into the Kursk front. At the Kursk front, there is a geolocation of 2 HIMARS system allegedly got destroyed by a triple missile strike by the Russians. So and over at the Kursk front, Russian forces continue to attack in the southern flank at Blakovo, and then a mass attack over at the western flank and the northern flank. So let's go into detail. Over at the at this sector, generally the main thing is already mentioned in the Kursk quick update, where the Russian forces have break the stalemate with the latest geolocation just off Nizhny Klin, confirming that the Russians have likely, no, not confirmed, but most likely captured everything around Tostilok and Porovsky. So otherwise, the Russians continue to be fighting more or less the same areas at Novaya Soroshkina, Krylenkoe, Leonidovo, what is this? Viktorovka. Yeah, there's Viktorovka. Nikoski. This is Alexandria. Novo Ivanovka. Darino. Nikolaevo Darino. Sverdiklovo, as well as Lebedevka. So you can see the number of arrows is ridiculous. It's just everywhere. So the intensity of the counteroffensive is definitely super high, and the Ukrainians are sparing no expense to hold the line. They are definitely doing their best to hold the line. So let's see how long the Ukrainians can keep it up. And because Sersky said they're going to go into to conduct a major counteroffensive. I don't know with what troops and what equipment. So fingers crossed. And so hopefully not so depressing. And lastly, the Russian Defense Ministry interestingly announced details of the ATACMS attacks. The long-range NATO missiles launched with the HIMARS or the Mars 2 systems. Then so basically, or the M270s. So the ATACMS operational tactical missiles hit the S-400 site. So this over at Latarevka, which is over here. So the Russians have a S-400 getting destroyed over there. They basically admitted to it, which is very interesting. So, and then they also did use Panzer to try to intercept the ATACMS. So two of the 3 missiles was allegedly intercepted. However, the strike still hit a radar over at this Kursk airport. So at this area here at the Kursk airport, there is still a radar system getting destroyed by the ATACMS. So definitely, and the Russians say that they are preparing retaliatory measures. So they definitely going to retaliate. Yeah. So let's see, more thunder rods from heaven. Anyway, thank you for watching. Press the like button, subscribe. And the main channel, this is the war channel. The main channel finally broke through 90K, 90,000 subscribers. So slow, but thank you everyone who have subscribed. And of course, continue to support and subscribe over here at the DPA War channel, because the subscriber is really important. Because the algorithm favors the bigger channels. That's just how it works. Unless your video is super viral, which daily reportings like this, doesn't go super viral. So anyway, thank you for watching. Press the like button, subscribe. See you guys in the next update.